The views expressed are solely those of the speaker and not necessarily those of paltalk.com, AVM Software, or its advertisers.
News Talk is online. News Talk Online, a production of paltalk.com, the largest multimedia interactive program on the internet with more than 4 million unique users, on demand on iTunes and on YouTube and on my blog, GaryBaumgarten.com, where you're encouraged to post your comments, whether you agree with yours truly or not, no retribution, and where you can sign up for my Twitter feed, which is really a news feed that makes you an informed citizen of the world, at twitter.com/Gary Baumgarten. And thanks to our good friends at CRN Digital Talk Radio, we're syndicated to an additional 12 million households. I am your host, Gary Baumgarten. Welcome to the show. Boaz, I was watching CNN today. You remember the other day we were talking about the Cash for Clunkers program and how I was a little bit saddened that some really nice cars or usable cars were getting sent to the great interstate in the sky?
Yeah, how can I forget? I was turned down for that program, but go ahead, sure.
Oh, that's right. You were turned down for the program. So you're opposed to it now. If they had taken your car, you would have been in favor of it. Well, a guy actually turned in his mint condition 1985 Maserati. I'm not kidding you. A classic. And the first dealership said, you know what? I can't take your car, sir. I just cannot do this. And they had a dealer on there who said, there are a lot of folks out there that can't afford a new car. We got into all this big mess that we're in financially because of extending debt where we shouldn't have. Maybe they could afford to get into some of these cars that are going to be getting turned in, but instead they're getting crushed. I don't know, maybe it's because I come from Detroit and I got this little love affair going with the automobiles, but it just bothers me completely. Well, leading up to today's show right here on News Talk Online on paltalk.com, we brought you not one, but two town hall meetings on health reform live. The first one, President Obama. The second one, Arkansas Congressman Mike Ross. He's a Blue Dog Democrat, so-called. And, what we just saw while we were waiting for our guests to join us was almost fortuitous, because it says to me that our guests may be right, that these town hall meetings may not be accomplishing very much because, well, I'm not going to speak for him, he will for himself, but from my perspective, what we just heard together, were a bunch of people who already made up their minds whether they're for or against this health care reform. There was no interaction of ideas and exchange of information and movement one way or the other. Everybody who took the mic knew where they stood, and the congressman knew where they stood, and I don't know what we accomplished except letting people blow off a little steam. And, as these protests rage across the country, and we see little headway by Americans in the healthcare debate, that is the question. Why have these town halls not proven to be the right venue to discuss health care reform legislation? Well, we have with us, I'm very pleased to say, the father of American public opinion research, Daniel Yankelovich, Y-A-N-K. Did I pronounce it right, Daniel?
That's right.
Yankelovich. I worked on it because I'm sensitive. Baumgarten, a lot of people get it wrong. I want to make sure I got yours right.
The first time.
The first time, not bad, huh? Daniel Yankelovich has been looking at some new findings, new type of research that shows that there's a better way for leaders to engage the public during this critical time. You may recognize the name if you're, from my generation, Yankelovich, because he's the founder of the New York Times Yankelovich poll, now known as the CBS New York Times poll. He's pioneered many of the research techniques that are today's standard in the field and has more than 50 years experience in tracking U.S. public opinion. Daniel Yankelovich, welcome to News Talk Online on paltalk.com. I told you I was from Detroit. I have to know how to pronounce your name. So tell me, sir, on the face of it, it's a good thing, one would think, for our members of Congress during recess to come back into the districts and talk about this particular legislation that everybody is so concerned about. One would welcome the discourse, but the one we just heard with Congressman Ross, I didn't hear much of people listening to one another. I just heard people shouting at one another.
If people have already made up their minds, they're not open to learning. And for learning, you need to have listening. And if you're not having any listening, no learning is taking place. And, that is what has happened here. The so-called town hall meetings, in theory, sounded good, but if they're used for selling and for venting, then you don't get anywhere. In fact, you just set everything back.
Right. So what's the alternative to this? How can we actually move forward the public debate? And by the way, just for your edification, one of the things that we've been trying to do on this show, we have been researching. The claims have been made, and there are others who have been doing it as well. What's true and what's not true. And we find that on both sides of the debate, let's just say, to be generous, people have been very loose with the facts.
What was that last comment?
I said on both sides of this debate, the proponents and the opponents, both sides have been, to be generous, a little bit loose with the facts.
Yes, well, I think that it has degenerated into a partisan battle. And the last thing in the world that will work in a partisan battle is a so-called objective town hall meeting. So the research we've been doing, and it's now public under the heading Voices for Healthcare. It's based on very long, intensive, day-long dialogues with people in Ohio and Mississippi and Kansas. And we spent 8 hours with each group exploring the conditions under which they accept or don't accept healthcare reform. And what we found is that to accept healthcare reform, they really need to learn 3 things. And I think this is, for me, the heart of the matter. And if they don't learn those 3 things, then you get what you call a degenerated situation. The first is that bad economic times are exactly when you need reform the most, because those who have health care insurance with high unemployment risk losing it